Hey everybody, Brian from Innisfil Creek Honey. Today we're going to do something quite fun, I think. We're going to talk about Varroa Mite and treatment a method for that. There's been a lot of concern lately about Varroa Mite and them building resistances against available pesticidal treatments. And as always, a mite-free hive is a healthy hive, and a healthy hive without mites will be more productive and will live through winter. So our goal as a beekeeper is to make sure that our Varroa mite levels are very low and our bees are healthy. There's been a lot of interest in using oxalic acid as a treatment for our bees. And there's been a lot of interest in using vaporization to vaporize the bees to treat them for Varroa mite. There's a new product on the market, and that is the InstantVap. So we're going to open up the box of the InstantVap and go through it. Inside the box, it's packaged very well. We have nice heavy-duty foam packaging in there to store it when you're not using it. We have inside the InstantVap. The InstantVap consists of two components. We have the InstantVap body, and then we have the dispensing measuring amount for the oxalic acid. That goes in the top. Also in the box, we have replacement O-rings for the seal on the top of the oxalic acid dispenser. And we have a little tiny cleaning cup. We also have an instruction booklet that we're going to go through and discuss the InstantVap. So this one here, it comes with 5 different battery types or 6 different battery types. The battery type I have here is for the Milwaukee M18 battery. On the very bottom is the place to slide your battery into. So you fully charge your battery of desire. So if you have DeWalt or you have Bosch, Rigid, Milwaukee, or Makita, you can use any of those batteries. It must be an 18-volt battery, so you can't use the thin ones. It has to be the 18-volt battery. You take your 18-volt battery and slide it in there. When you slide it in, the back lights up, tells me I have 20 volts. There's also a display on the surface that shows me the exact voltage down to a decimal point. So currently, right now I have 19.9 volts in there. It also tells me the set temperature. Excuse me, that's not the volts, that's the current temperature reading. That's the set temperature, that's the current temperature. The set temperature comes set to 230 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the optimal temperature to vaporize acid. And then the current temperature of the device is 20. The device is turned off and on. And there's some little buttons down here. If you want to mess around with it and change the temperatures and different things, you can. I'm leaving mine set at the 230 because that is the temperature that is optimal. Then there's an on-off switch on here. It does take some time to heat this up. So you can turn it on or off. And as you turn it on, it'll start drawing from the battery. And you can see the temperature's already starting to climb. We're at 21, 22, 23. And it'll keep climbing. I'm going to shut it off now because we're indoors. We don't really want to heat it up indoors. The measuring device on top, there's that O-ring on top. That creates a tight seal between the measuring device and the chamber you're going to dispense or put it into. So it locks it in so fumes can't come out the top. On this is a little guide there that has the measurements 1, 2, 3, or 4. Now those are grams or approximate gram measurements. So that would be a 1 gram dose, a 2 gram dose, a 3 gram dose, and a 4 gram dose. To change that, it comes set at a 0 gram dose. There's a little screw on top. You just unscrew that, and you'll see this little tiny plate eventually start moving down. So zoom on in there. You can see that little plate moving down. So you can set it at the desired dosage to make sure you get how much oxalic acid powder in the vaporizer that you want. To use it, you take this, once it's set, you stab it into your container of oxalic acid to fill it up. Once it's filled, you stick it in the top of the vaporizer, make sure it's tight, and then there's a plunger on top that you push down, and as you push that down, it pushes the oxalic acid out of the dispenser and into the heating chamber that's in the bottom of this. When it goes into the heating chamber, because it'll be at 230 degrees Fahrenheit, it'll turn the crystals directly into a vapor, which is called sublimation. It goes from a solid state into a vapor. As it vaporizes, the only place for the vapor to come out is this little tiny dispenser down here. So the vapors will come out and shoot out this little jet. And with this inside the beehive, it will dispense the oxalic acid vapors into the beehive. Okay. So that's the vaporizer. Also in there is a little cleaning device. This is a little cleaning cup. Oxalic acid is an acid and very corrosive. So after you finish using the InstantVap, it's important to clean it to make sure it lasts long. So inside here you have a little tiny cleaning cup. It holds about a ½ an ounce-ish of water. You're supposed to use distilled water. Distilled water can be purchased at any pharmacy and most grocery stores. It's used in all sleep apnea machines, so you might actually have some around the house if you're one of them snory people that stops breathing. The cleaning process is very simple. You take the distilled water, you fill up the little cup, you put the cup down, you take your dispenser out, you flip your thing upside down, stick it inside here. Then you flip it over while you're firmly holding that down. And the distilled water goes down into the heating element, and steam is generated and cleans the nozzle out. A warning, after I've used this a few times, is when you flip this over, this little silicone cap, there's a lot of pressure built up when that water hits that element. And you need to be holding this down very, very firmly, or it can pop off and you could scald yourself with burning steam. Make sure you're wearing good leather gloves. Your beekeeping gloves should work well, or some kind of heat-resistant glove when you're doing this process. And make sure that both the nozzle and the cap on top are pointed away from you and anybody you like. Okay. So that's the cleaning nozzle there, or the cleaning cap there. It has a little instruction book in here. And it's not really an instruction book more than it is actually a using guide. It tells you how to turn it on and off. It tells you how to clean it. It tells you should wear safety gear. But like most things you purchase, or most vaporizer you purchase to use for the oxalic acid, there is no real instructions on how to use it to vaporize your bees. There are no dosage instructions on these to tell you how to vaporize your bees and how much oxalic acid to use and the process to use it. And that there is what we're going to try to solve today. We're going to take the InstantVap outside to the bee yard with a fully charged battery, And we're going to start treating our beehives, go through the process of treating them, try to show you how to do it. We're going to talk about dosage information. We're going to clean it without burning ourselves, hopefully. And we're going to hopefully clear up some of that, I guess, cloudy information out there. I'll let you know what we do. Before we start, I must state that this is not an instructional video. It's basically an unboxing, and I'm going to show you what I do. Don't do what I do. Do what you want to do. And everybody does things a little bit different. Also, it's very important to use the proper protective equipment. A canister mask to protect you from the vapors. So you want to have that. You want to make sure that it is rated for acid vapors. You'll want to wear goggles. You'll also want to wear protective gloves because this gets very hot and you're dealing with a powdered acid. And you want to be very safe and secure as far as having this around flammable objects because it is a heating element inside there. Okay. So anyways, let's head out to the bee yard. We'll go over the usage of this and how we are using this. And hopefully we'll use a few little tricks that you can use in your operation. So we're in front of the shop. In front of the beehives, we're going to be treating with our ProVap. We have all of the equipment we need to start treating our bees. We have our ProVap. We have our Milwaukee battery plugged into the ProVap. We have it turned on. It is warmed up. This is the large Milwaukee battery to last as long as possible. We have our oxalic acid. We have some other items we're going to talk about later. And what we should have, and we have to talk a little bit about PPE and the protection of yourself. You should be wearing a respirator that is rated for acid vapors. You should be wearing gloves, and you should be wearing goggles. I'm not wearing any of that because with all of that on, you would have a hard time listening to me speak. So I'm just going to be very careful while I'm doing this and making sure I'm not near the vapors when they're happening. So on the internet, and I think the biggest problem with vaporization is there's no real standardized method of using vapors. There's just what other people do in other areas and other countries. And I see a lot of things on the internet where people are using vaporization in very inefficient ways. The ProVap has this tube, and this is the dosing tube. On the dosing tube is the dials with 1 gram, 2 grams, 3 grams, and 4 grams. You turn the little screw and change it to the grams you want to dispense. Okay. In Ontario, the amount that normal people dose is usually only 1 gram. 1 gram per brood chamber. A single deep box would take 1 gram. A double deep box would take 2 grams. If you go out into Western Canada or in the US, they will do 2 grams for a single deep, 4 grams for a double deep. Or if you watch other people use this, they open it up wide and they put 4 grams in every single beehive they have, no matter how big or small it is. And I think that's the biggest issue with oxalic acid is there is no actual treatment method. A company, a government, a OMAFRA, the Ontario Beekeeping Association should come out with a best treatment protocol for oxalic acid and do some studies to see how much you should actually use. So with a single deep box, I'm going to use 2 because I understand that oxalic acid, it will not hurt the bees. And if I dose a little bit extra, I'm just really wasting a little bit. Okay, so I have it dialed into 2. I'm going to open up my oxalic acid container, take my device, And then I'm just going to start stabbing this into the oxalic acid in the container until I pack enough in there that it's full. So I have the oxalic acid full, it's in there, it's not going to fall out. I'm going to take my vaporizer. I'm going to show you how I see most people do this on the internet. They take this, they stick it inside, push it down. They sit this in the front of the hive like this. Then they tap that down and they let it go. Now if you watch this, it's vaporizing the oxalic acid, pumping the oxalic acid into the beehive. 80% or 90% of the oxalic acid is leaking out the front door of the beehive. It's not actually doing anything. Bees are coming out of the beehive because the oxalic acid is an irritant. And the fumes aren't staying in the beehive for any length of time. And that's how I see most people use the oxalic acid in their vaporizers. I'm going to show you how I use the oxalic acid to be more efficient and to make sure that I'm treating the bees properly. So what I do is I get a drill and a drill bit that is the same size as the nozzle of the vaporizer. Then I take the drill, I go into the bottom board, just above the bottom bore ledge, and I drill a tiny little hole in the bottom board just below the box. I don't want to drill into my boxes. I don't want to wreck my boxes. I just drill a little tiny hole right there in the side. Now that little hole will fit my vaporizer. So now my vaporizer fits into the little hole tightly. I'm going to go to the front door of the hive. And we want to treat the bees with oxalic acid, but we want the fumes to stay inside of the hive as long as possible to make sure that they treat everything. So we're going to close up the front door of the hive. I like to use socks. Everybody has old socks. They're about the right length and they tuck really nicely into cracks. So I tuck them in. Most of my hives have an upper entrance in it. So I'm then going to take a piece of tape the upper entrance to keep all the bees in the hive. So now I have a hive that's sealed shut. The bees can't get out. I'm going to take out my doser plug. I'm going to stab it into the oxalic acid, fill up my 2 grams of oxalic acid. I'm going to take my vaporizer, stab it into that little tiny hole, put the plug inside, push it down in. Now all of the vapors are shooting into the beehive and not leaking out the front door as fast as they come in. The bees can't get out, so no bees are evacuating the beehive. They're staying in the beehive while they're treated. And once the treatment is done, I will pull the vaporizer out, and I have little golf tees. I'll plug that hole up with a golf tee to hold the vapors in and to stop the bees from filling that hole up with propolis. So that next time I go to treat, I simply pull that out, stick the nozzle in, and treat. Okay. So we killed the battery finally. Really impressed actually with the battery on this. We got through 20 beehives, treating them with the oxalic acid and the InstantVap. It worked really well. The battery worked kept the temperature up to that 230 degrees on here, right through every beehive, right to the last one. And the last one, the temperature started to drop because the battery was starting to discharge at that point. So quite happy with how that worked. It is something we're going to try this season with our operation, with a bigger operation, and see how it works. I totally think with a smaller operation, this would be a fantastic way to treat your bees. So I wanted to see how long it actually takes to finish off the, to vaporize at full 2 gram or 2 on the thing, dosage of oxalic acid. So I'm going to set the dispenser in, push the button, and we're going to time it. And I am staying well downwind of the vaporizer. The fumes are going off that way. Even if you get a little tiny puff of the vapors coming out of that, it'll let you know you shouldn't be doing this without a vaporizer canisters on and in the proper ventilator. So really make sure when you're using this, you are using the ventilator, or you're being very, very, very safe, or you're just a stupid farmer like me and you're used to doing things like this. So there we go, we got that done. About how long, Kiara, did that take?
About a minute.
About a minute. So it takes about a minute to discharge 2 on the dial. Now when you get done, and we're completed now, the battery's pretty much dead, you're supposed to do a cleaning cycle on your InstantVap. The cleaning cycle, they give you this little cup that I stuck on the end of the handle so I don't lose. The cleaning cup holds about a ½ ounce. It's made out of a soft silicone. You go down to the pharmacy and you grab some distilled water. It's in the sleep apnea section. People use this to put in their little snorkel machines. And then you take your distilled water, fill up the little cleaning cup with it, set it down on a flat surface. You take your InstantVap that is up to heat, you turn it upside down, you stick it in the cleaning cup, then hold it securely and turn this upside down while you're holding it. You have to put a lot of force on top of this cleaning cup so that it doesn't fly off. That's my only concern with the cleaning cup. And the way it's designed is it does shoot off if you don't actually hold it down with a lot of force. And it's steam coming out of there, so you could scald yourself. Wearing a good pair of leather gloves, your beekeeping gloves, while you're doing this part of it would be smart. Just be very careful with this. And make sure you're aiming the nozzle away from you as the steam created from the distilled water is shooting out of there. Okay? So that's the cleaning cycle. You then take your cup off. I'm going to throw it back on the handle to store it. We now can turn our InstantVap off, and we can remove our battery to recharge it. Anyways, we're going to go in the shop now. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to go over the InstantVap and my thoughts and things on it, and hopefully give you some insights onto whether you would want to purchase an InstantVap or it would work in your beekeeping organization. Anyways, we'll see you inside. So, we're inside now again. We finished using our InstantVap. We treated our beehives. I was actually quite impressed. We went through and treated 20 beehives with one 18-volt M8 battery. I didn't think we'd get close to that amount. The battery kept the heat up right to the 20th beehive. So I got through the first 19. Temperature stayed right at 230 the whole time. On the 20th beehive, the temperature dropped slightly. I treated the 20th. And then the temperature took a little while to raise up. So at that point, I cleaned it and figured I was done. I didn't want to continue because the temperature had dropped below 230 and was taking a while to clean up. So overall, I was quite impressed with this. I just want to go through it now and discuss a little bit, I guess, a critique about it. I guess my first critique about it is there's no labeling on this to tell you what type of battery to use. So if you're to buy this and unpack it and look at it, you wouldn't really actually know what battery to put on it. You'd have to turn it over and try a bunch of batteries to see which one fit. And that's my biggest, I guess, comment about it. They could have actually put, takes a Milwaukee battery, takes a DeWalt battery. They could have a little tiny sticker on the bottom. They could have done a whole bunch of stuff to try to label it easier to know which type of battery goes in it. The other thing is it does get quite warm. The bottom of this is extremely hot. If you touch this with your bare hands after it's been used for a little while, you're going to scald yourself, you're going to burn yourself. The bottom of the shaft gets really warm. They do sell a little silicone rubber sleeve that fits over to top of this to try to hold the heat in. I wish they would have included that in the packaging, some sort of an insulation cover over top of the top to keep this, because your hand's right here. Everything else works really well. It's really nice to use. Very light, very quick. The temperature stays up there, and after you use it with one dose, it drops a little bit when you throw it on, but within a few seconds that temperature's back up to 230. So very responsive. I really like that. The packaging also, this is just me being quibbly. The packaging, when we get them in the door, we get this written on the box. So you get a brown box with MI all written on it in small letters in black marker. That means Milwaukee. It would be really nice if they actually had a sticker on it that said, InstantVap Milwaukee battery. They put that MI on there. Kiara's really nice. She puts a big Milwaukee on it so that I don't get them mixed up, because I'm a little bit stupid sometimes. So that would be nice if they put a little more labeling on there. The instruction book, as far as a usage guide, it does have the information you need on there. I again wish that somebody would sit down and actually do some research and find out exactly how much dosage you should use and do an actual instruction guide for this. I showed you what I do, but that's what I do. If you watch 20 videos, you'll find 20 different ways of things that people do things, and which one is the right way. So I really wish the OBA would be a nice project for the OBA to get involved with. If the tech transfer program sat down and did a trial on the vaporization and came up with actually a best practices protocol and a dosages for this, it would be quite awesome. Anyways, oxalic acid vaporization. We have both oxalic acid in the shop in large quantities. We have it from 140 grams for the hobby people, 1 kilos for the sideliners, 10 kilo pails for the real beekeepers. InstantVaps, we have tons of them in stock. If you have any questions or need anything, give the shop a call. Kiara's always there. If you're lucky or unlucky, I might be around. Anyways, everybody have a great day.